Thank you for your time, Roy Dixon.
Pleasure. Great to be here.
we were talking before the podcast before we went live about mutual friend Mike. Obviously, I suspect Mike Valance is a lot older of a friend to you than he is to me. How long have I known him for? I met him at the Conrad's Ride. He was saying yesterday. Let's pull that mic a bit closer for me. That's it. He was saying yesterday that I didn't realise that you and him. It was with you that he thought the idea for Rugby for Heroes.
Yes,
on a train on the way back from somewhere.
It was two occasions. One was we went to the Rugby for Heroes game, the first one, which was about 12 years ago at Twickenham.
Yeah.
And coming back from that, you think, well, why doesn't every club in the land have one day where they just do something on that day to raise money for Rugby for Heroes? And said, well, this was a rugby game, so you could have a raffle afterwards, or perhaps the profits from the bar, something like that. Of course, chatting to Mike, that developed into we could have a tournament. And then it became a festival, and then it became a music festival, and it became a beer festival. And so it's grown and grown into the event that we know and love that had the last one this year.
So when was the first one? 2010?
The first one would have been 10 years ago, so 2009 I think it was.
Okay, yeah. So I've missed them all. I'm gutted. I only came to Warwick last year, really. I started frequenting it just... what year were we in? 2018, 2016. Yeah, 2016 you started coming up. And I moved you last year. And then discovered Old Leamingtonians. So how were you involved? Were you involved with Old Leamingtonians RC already?
Yes, again, it's a slightly tenuous link because I was at Warwick School. So I'm technically an Old Warwickian. But my brother played for Old Leamingtonians. So when I came back from weekends away from the army, and Clive had stopped playing first team, I thought, well, let's have a game together. So we'd go and play for OL's thirds together and end up having a few beers. And then I started playing for the vets at Old Leamingtonians and then the threes. So, just grew and grew and ended up that I was chairman of rugby for a couple of years. So got heavily involved.
See names up on the board there?
Sadly not, no. Chairman of rugby doesn't get his name on the board. I just take all the glory for we played well.
Can't the chairman change that?
Well, we did quite well. We did the Shield and won the Warwickshire Shield and got promoted in my time. So.
Yeah. Well, they just started up. I have not heard of it before, or any other club. The Mixed Abilities team.
I've seen that. That's fantastic, isn't it?
I was there for the first game. Yeah. What was the other patrons dinner, and on the same day they had the Mixed Abilities. Honestly, it's just I thought it was amazing. It's just it's also obviously awesome for a club. To me, it's kind of a sign of how much society is moving forward with things like that, which was really good.
I think it's brilliant, just getting people out there. There's a sheer joy in running with the ball. Not that I did much from the front row, but it's I've played rugby since I was 11. So my last game was at Rugby Heroes in May. So that's nearly 45 years.
Your last game was May just gone?
Yeah.
Jesus, I retired at the age of 26, I think.
Like on your prime, then.
I popped my shoulder once. It was the stupidest thing. Much like yourself, I was going home at the weekends back to Wales, where I lived at the time, and I grew up in the Dulles Valley, so sort of the southernmost valley in south, one of the southernmost valleys in South Wales, sort of nearest to the coast. So the further into the valleys you go, the more rough things become. Dulles Valley isn't that bad, but it's by no means stretch of imagination normal sort of town living. And the parents' house, even now, it's about flipping heck 30 yards from the pitch. Brilliant. 25 yards to the changing room. So I'd go out, come back on a Friday late from the army. I'd go out, get drunk on the Friday night, and then Saturday there'd be a knock at the door to my dad. Sean, can you come and play? And fucking drag it a bit. Fucking hell. If I didn't have my boots, I'd give me a pair of boots.
We always find boots.
I know, yeah. and then I'd go and play. And one of the matches, it was, typical, club rugby, Valley Club rugby, and not high up in the division at the time. And we were. Do you ever have it when you were playing when you were younger, where if the other team was short of players, you'd give them a player?
Oh yeah.
I remember that as kids, as adults, and I went to tackle one of the opposite team, who was our player playing for them because they were short, and I fucking popped my shoulder against one of my own players on their side. But then after that, it just popped every time. It was if I was tackling on my left side, it would just pop. It used to come out my sleep a half hour. It was a nightmare. Right. So I retired. I tried to come out of retirement 2 years later, and I popped in my first training session. And I want to get back into it. I miss it.
Oh, it's been a great game. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Playing has been at all levels. It was a great part of my army career, and even afterwards we kept it going. So
what levels did you play to in the army?
I played for the army in BOR, and played for the army vets.
BOR,
British Army of the Rhine.
Ah.
So I played there. In fact, the Olympic Stadium in Berlin. Played for BOR against RAF Germany.
Really? What was the score?
Oh, we won. I can't remember the score exactly because it led on for a few beers afterwards. But it was one of the highlights, lining up in the Olympic Stadium, the band of Royal Fusiliers playing the national anthem, and you're stood there about to go out and play a game of rugby.
What year was this?
That would have been 1989, something like that, yeah.
88, 89?
Yeah.
Goodness me. That is amazing. Especially back then, it was still a bit cold.
The wall was still in place, yeah.
yeah, the wall was still there. So, going back to Rugby for Heroes, tell me about how did it come about then, the idea of Rugby for Heroes on this train? What match were you watching in London that Mike was talking about?
It was a Rugby for Heroes game. There was a Rugby for Heroes side that had Delalio and Greenwood in and people like that. Mm-hmm. And that's what sort of started it. Why don't we all do it? Why just not rugby? Why not cricket? Why not football? And so Mike ran with it, and then we said, well, let's have a tournament. So it became a tens tournament. So we got the Army Vets to come up, and they came up a couple of years ago, and they're quite a Fijian element now, and they're bloody strong. It's like stronger than I played for them, anyway.
So the the Army Vets, do they have to have played for the Army team?
No, we did it such that it started off when Army Vets Rugby first got playing, just over 35. It was sort of a bunch of majors and colonels and brigadiers who thought, well, let's have a bit of a run out. And then we used to play the RAF, who took it quite seriously. And so we changed all that. So our first game was down at the Staines, and we got a right pasting. Then after that, it slowly picked up. And then in my last couple of years, I played for the Army Vets for 7 years. We didn't lose a game for a couple of years.
Oh, really?
So, but it was tough. I mean, it was playing really good rugby, and it was really competitive rugby. And we started playing at Nella Hall, before the Army Navy game. We were the first team to play there, mm-hmm. And it was bloody good rugby. Playing with your mates, your peer group.
How are you training? You have to be from all over the country. How are you training? Where and how often? Or how were you, I should say?
We always used to play for unit side, but we used to try and get a fixture a month. So we'd all get together.
Oh, while he was still serving. I do apologise. Yeah. Right, got you. Yeah, got you. There's another side, not another side, kind of different, but they sound a bit like the Mavericks. Actually, I might be wrong. You have to explain the Mavericks in a minute. But they're called the military nomads. Have you heard of these guys?
I haven't heard of them. No.
They exist on Facebook only, but it's all ex-military guys who play rugby, and it started off about 2 years ago, and it's literally, right, fellas, I can't remember the name of the guy who organises it. I've not gone and play it yet. Right, fellas, on the X date of whatever month, we've got a game against, and there'll be some random rugby club somewhere, and they're gonna raise money tonight. Who can get there?
Well, that's it.
That's it. 15 people will turn up on the day randomly. Well, maybe hopefully more than 50,000 subs. They haven't ever met or played up maybe someone that I've met, and they just crack them straight onto the pitch in like classic old school, just back of a fag packet.
My first game for the Army Vets, I turned up. Oh, that's good. We got 15 now. You played prop before? No.
What position were you?
Hooker.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
You've lost some weight then, have you?
I've lost a bit of weight recently, but yeah, I was quick.
Oh yeah, cool. Mavericks. Tell me about the Mavericks.
In 2003, the Army Vets, who were an over 35s team, they went to Sydney. I just left the Army by then. They went to Sydney and they won the World Masters rugby competition. And whilst they were there, there was another over 45s tournament. Mm-hmm. So you go on to about 2011. I was chatting to my friend Ian Davis, and he said, well, 2013, the World Masters is in Turin. Why don't we get an over 45s team together? So we hunted around and we got a few of our old mates together and we started the Mavericks team based as a warm-up game to that. So we were an over 45s team playing vets rugby. So we went along and we played at the Rugby Heroes tournament at OLs. We went to Turin. There was quite a strong Australian team there, 2 ex-Wallabies and 1 ex-Italian international. A Russian team, which were just brilliant. They we'll get onto them later. And a couple of Italian teams, and so you play through, you had a group competition to go through various rules. We got to the final. Now, we had a team of 17, that did include the bus driver sort of thing, and in the final we lost 2 players with snapped Achilles, because playing rugby in Turin in August is tough. It's bloody hot. And we lost 5-0 in the final, so we got silver medals in the over 45s, and the Army Masters is what the vets have become. They were playing in the over 35s, and they ran away with that, so it was great to go along and play. And the actual World Masters Games is the most brilliant tournament.
Why is that?
Just everyone's together. You know, the parade through Turin was just fantastic. I think when they had the Olympics there was something like 6,500 athletes. There were 14,000 when we went.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just all the different sports and everything else, and everyone joined up for the parade.
Oh, brilliant.
So you had the Russian... I mean, it was classic Italian organisation on the finals day.
Lack of.
Yeah. I mean, you know, brewery piss up, you know, sort of thing. It was... There were 4 teams in the final playing, and there was 1 pump serving fizzy beer slowly. But luckily, because we knew the Russians, we were straight into the vodka and raw fish. So that was
What were they like drinking, the Russians?
very good.
Yeah, good at drinking. Were they good at being drunk?
Yeah, well, they knew the rules as well. They the rules of the tournament, because some of the games were supposed to be played in golden oldies. We didn't want to do that, but some of them were. And if you get sent off, you can be replaced.
What do you mean in golden oldies? What do you mean?
It's an over 45 sort of ruling, so, you know, it's less contact and it's supposed to keep players going. We didn't want to play that, so against the Australians, we agreed to play normal rugby. But against the Russians, Italians, wanted to play golden oldies rugby, so it's a different set of rules to play. But if you get sent off, you can be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
So the Russians hospitalised 2 Australians, got sent off. And they brought Ivor came back on again. Another player came back on. So, and they were a bit miffed they didn't get through to the final. But it was great. They came out wearing the old CCCP shirts and everything else, the old
brilliant.
Soviet Union ones, and it was good fun. And a lot of them were ex-forces, because a lot of the rugby played in Russia at the time was military teams. So we had a good chat with them.
How do they change the rules for the golden oldies to reduce the contact?
There's less tackling, there's certain ages. I mean, if you play it properly, you can wear different coloured shorts and things. They wouldn't have that. But, for example, you can't, there's kicking's limited. So you can't, there's got to be certain, the scrum half has to pass off the back of the scrum. He can't run into someone.
What about tackle limits? So how do they limit the tackles? So after 5 or 6 tackles, then turnover ball or something?
It carried on. It was normal rugby as you know it, but it was just slightly different laws, the way the game was played and the way they kept it going again. So the scrums weren't proper contact ones; they were uncontested and things like that.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to remember the figure, the pounds per square inch that the front line of a professional, the front row of professional team will take on their shoulder.
Huge. I mean, in our day, though, we used to and now they have this sort of crouch, engage and bind or set. We used to almost run at each other, you know. And you'd always just right, you know, you got to take your pace. And you got to, sorry, just demonstrating. You got to hit them really hard.
Yeah. When I was at school rugby as a flanker. So I was in the scrum, but I was just on the side. I wasn't taking any other impact. No, thank you. I was tall and skinny, so I had tall, skinny, and quick.
But the joy of the front row when we used to play it was you were competing against one man sort of thing. So there was a scrum. You 3 went in together. You were against your man, and you had to be better than him, both physically and sort of mentally. You know, you had to win your own ball. You could attack him. You want to make his game difficult, and that one-on-one contact was just brilliant.
I've never really understood the front row of the scrum, the pro, as in the battle. I mean, from an outsider's perspective, if you're not a rugby player, you know, you see that you're just going to get smashed. They're trying to push each other back and trying to get the ball out. But then, from my perspective, and I'm not an experienced rugby player by no means. You know, I played for years up until I was mid-20s, but I'm 37 now. You know, there's a lot more experienced people than me, far more experienced. But from my perspective, I know there's more goes on. So I know there's all these little tiny battles I could never comprehend. 'Cause I'd never be a prop. So I don't understand
You could be a ref with that sort of knowledge.
yeah, that sort of vague.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not right. Yeah.
Well, it's a good point actually, because when you get in the scrums in the professional rugby and you're watching it, you think I don't understand how did the ref decide who went down when there's collapse in the scrum? Wales get penalised for collapse in the scrum.
That's because they're always doing it. Wales. No.
I walked into
I think it's if you look at foot position and I always say look at the elbow because it has to be a long bind. Okay, and that's what it's doing. If you then bend, I'm showing
you've got to have a long bind.
You've got to have a long bind. But if your elbow is then going down and you're bending your elbow down towards the ground, that is when you're starting to collapse the scrum.
Right. So it's the law. You could have a long bind on it.
Yeah.
On the props on the outside.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I just learnt. Okay. And that's what the ref will look at.
That's what they should look at, but they tend to look at the touch judge from the side will call, I look at his feet. And if someone slips back and they hit the deck flat, that usually means their feet have gone. But if they collapse in a heap, they're usually back's bent. They're in the wrong position, so they're collapsing the scrum. It's all about getting your back flat and keeping the right body angles.
Who has the best leverage for trying to collapse a scrum? Inside or the outside?
Loose head or tight head?
Inside the outside, just fucking centres. Loose head or the tight head?
The way we used to play it was tight head was always the attacking prop forward. So when you lined up, he would lead in slightly first. So he'd then have more contact with the hooker because he wanted to make the hooker life more difficult by binding onto him. And you want to separate away the loose head, who is his support. The loose head is in quite an awkward position because he's only got one person to bind on. So he's got to be a strong boy. The tight head gets in and wants to separate those two. Because I go into a scrum, I'm going to, we used to hook and they're trying to bring it back in now. But you stand on 1 foot, when you hook the ball. Mm. So you need prop to support you. And you have faith that props are supporting you. So if he's under pressure and someone's forcing us apart so that our arms are further apart,
I see.
Then you put a lot of weight onto the hooker.
And then, so that hook goes, having his props forced apart, less balance, less power.
And then you can't, it's difficult to lift your foot to move. And the other way to do it is what I used to do, is go straight across into the hooker and then just drop your shoulder down. So it's pushing on the back of their neck. So basically, they're pushing their head down a bit. So then if they try and move their knee, they often knee themselves in the face. They're sneaky buggers, aren't they?
I'm learning the black art of propping, the front row anyway. It's making sense now. I see. I'll be looking for that straight arm on the next England match.
Look at the elbows. Point of the elbow. Look what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I have learned something there. Yeah. So Rugby Heroes on the train way back. We did the Mavericks. I can't believe the last game was in May. Who did you play in May?
It was the Rugby Heroes tournament, so I was playing for OLs. We had a couple of teams, and I was playing in the Vets 10s. And
must be knackered.
Well, not really. No, because we're going to chat about later.
I'm assuming you're as unfit.
I'm probably fitter now since the last 18 months. I have been about 20 years. But I missed the first game because my father went along to watch, and he was stood there, and he's had 1 or 2 health issues lately. And they did a 2-minute silence, which is something we've always insisted on. You have an act of remembrance, and we will remember them. I think very powerful, and all the players line up on the pitch, both on the Saturday and when the minis and juniors on the Sunday, and so everyone knows why you're there, and I think that's been really good. But this year they had a cannon at the start and the beginning of the 2-minute silence. So the cannon goes off, start 2-minute silence. Cannon goes off, it's like the end of the 2-minute silence. At that precise moment, my father fainted. Mm-hmm. As if he'd been shot by the cannon. So everyone stood there and almost falls down. So I had to go and sort him. So I did miss a game because of sorting out father sort of thing. But the timing was absolutely impeccable. But we played a side called Fijian Knights, who were they were quite tough. So it was that moment I thought, yes, that was probably about the right time to stop. Yeah.
Who provided the cannons? Where are they from?
A chap called Ian Lowe, ex-Army officer.
I've met him. Yeah, a big old unit.
He's got a sort of company that does this sort of thing, and he brought a few a scimitar along and a drops vehicle, I think.
I met him. Interesting guy. Yeah, so we're on the subject of fitness there. I was assuming you're unfit. I didn't. I know I insinuated that by saying he must have been knackered playing tens. I remember knackered tens. Well, sevens was worse though. But I immediately regretted saying that because you're obviously doing you're the third person I've had on randomly. Right, the third person I've had on this is doing that. Who's doing that challenge? And I randomly, I can't understand why one person, let alone 3 different people I know, would want to do it. The 3,000-mile Talisker Whiskey Challenge. What? How on earth? How old are you now?
57.
What are you doing, you madman? Why are you doing? Why? Go on, tell me about the challenge.
This all started.
You're a dentist. You're a professional, professional individual. You should know better. You retired from rugby for a reason, in May.
That's a concentrate on rowing. No, it all started. I mean, it goes back again. Ian Chamine, he swam the challenge. He's done various other challenges. He's done the Mongolian Rally where you got to take a 1 litre car.
Who's this? Sorry,
Ian Davis.
Okay, yeah.
ASM of the Rugby, driving out to Mongolia and that sort of thing. And he swam the channel. And he was on about rowing the Atlantic. So if someone mentioned rowing the Atlantic, well, you give him a damn good ignoring.
Yeah.
And he was sort of going on. And I was at a stage where I need to do something now, sort of thing. Things in life change, and you want to sort of find something to do. And as it was, we all went on holiday. We took a lodge up in Ullapool, about 9 of us, all ex-army vets, rugby players, sort of thing, and all got on well. And by strange coincidence, by the time we'd finished the trip to the Glenmorangie distillery, I went to bed that night thinking, do you know, I think I've just agreed to row the Atlantic.
A vague recollection of a conversation.
But I mean, to be fair, we were given a couple of months to say, look, have a think about it if it appeals to you. And I started thinking about it, and I thought, yeah, I can do this. So the fitness side, I mean, there were 2 things I had to get sorted out. One was get clearance from my cardiac consultant. So I've got a heart issue, which gets in the way, and then was sort out, make sure I can get a locum for work for 3 months. Well, did those 2, said, right, yeah, let's do it. So that was May last year. So I've been training then. I've lost 2.5 stone in weight. I've got my own Concept 2 rower at home, which I love dearly. 2.5 million metres on it so far.
Glyn Sadler, one of the guys who came on, who's doing it. He's off on this. He's off on next year's one, aren't you? He's off on. I think he flies on. I think he flies on Friday. I think he flies
now. Yeah, we went out last year to see the start of the race.
Oh right, yeah. I think he flies Friday, which can't come to the event. But he was saying that I don't know if you agree or not, that those rowers are harder than rowing, like proper rowing on the sea. I
think one of the problems is, well, not problem. One of the good things about it is you push yourselves all the time because you have in front of you the dial and it's got all the numbers on. You know what you've done before, and you don't want to go below that all the time. So all the time, you're pushing yourself. So you don't have an easy session on that. And if you're at sea, and we've done a bit of coastal rows, I couldn't row 18 months ago. I've never been on a rowing machine at all. So he's done a bit of that. And if you do go in the river, you'll have the tide or currents with you, a wind or anything like that. That has an impact on, good and bad on the rowing. So sometimes, but all training, you want to get beyond what you want to do, so that rowing, the 2 hours rowing bit, 2 hours on, 2 hours off, is the easy bit. So you always push yourself. So the concepts, you always make that difficult because you want to do better all the time. So I look back to times I was doing a year ago, say for a half marathon, so I've improved that by 5 minutes. I reckon I can do that by another 10 before I go next year. I can row a half marathon quicker than I can run one anyway.
So what kind of training do you do on the rower then? How are you setting yourself? What kind of preparation are you doing for the sort of the endurance aspect of it? Because what in fact, let's go back on that 2 hours on, 2 hours off. You're looking at what you're doing for what? How big's the team?
4 of us. So
you're looking at doing it in 30 days ish.
We're being slightly generous at 45.
Okay,
because you don't know. I mean, the world record's 29.
Yeah.
And as a boat, we gave them 80 years, so we probably won't be challenging for that one. And then last year's race was phenomenally quick because everyone had the right sort of win. So you don't quite know what you're going to get. So if you're realistic, 45 days, that's our target. But I hope we do better than that.
Strokes per minute, what are you looking at?
On the erg,
averaging
22. So you're setting up the erg to do, to keep going. Good endurance pace is 210 is your split for 500 metres. So it's all, you split into the language straight away, don't you? And then do 22 strokes per minute. So it's long, generous strokes.
Still a fair pace, though. Yeah. Still a fair. Do you, when the tide is going with you, and you're, so if it's on splits per 500 metres or whatever, is it that you're working it out?
That's on the erg,
Is that on the rower? Yeah. How will you measure it in the same way on the when you're on the ocean or not?
You won't do it because you won't be doing it at that sort of pace. What you'll do on there is you'll be looking at the GPS plot per thing. But what you don't want to do is 2 on, 2 off. We did so many nautical miles. You only did so many. You want to be quite generous, I think, with that. Otherwise,
how do you get around that then? How do you avoid that?
We're going to swap over teams all the time.
Yeah. So
they'll be doing that, and then we've decided that changeover is going to be quite slick. You want to do that as quickly as you can. But at 6 o'clock, there's a slight pause, and anyone's got any gripes about what happened in the last 24 hours, you've got to say it then. Otherwise, that's it, done, put to bed, you can't bring it up anymore. So that's a way of just getting things in the open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Three of us have known each other over 30 years. Played rugby together, that BOR side and the Ellis Cup and competitions like that. So we can have that chat. Ian Donnelly's newer to the team, but he knows us well, and he's been training with us now. So you've got to be able to have that chat. Otherwise, you can have a real problem. Yeah,
it's vital, isn't it? That psychological aspect of it. I mean, I know of a person who shall remain unnamed, and he or she was going out to row with. There was a member of the team who it came about that when they were out doing their training rows, this member of the team was not cut out mentally to be able to crack on with it, and it resulted in an absolute nightmare. It's not an overnight training row, a bit of a nightmare, and so that the team ceased to exist before they even got to the start line because there's a safety aspect to it as well.
Yeah,
it must be a very, very isolating experience, very, very lonely almost experience to go and do that kind of thing for that long with the same people. I would think that because you're constantly active, either active or sleeping out, or sleeping, that probably makes it a little bit easier to cope with. But by no means,
you've got a routine, ideally.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, but that's an idea. Well, sometimes if the wind is too strong, we can't row against it. We're all going to be cooped up in cabins. So that'll be a bit of a challenge, I think. But because you've got the routine, you've got to stick to that. You'll have your your SOPs, how to deal with the day. You've got to eat, drink, and sort yourself out. And looking after your body is a really, really important part of it. So at the end of each row, you don't go and straight into your DOS bag. You've got to sort out, get yourself dried off, creamed up. Get rid of all the salt and stuff, because that you can get some really bad injuries and that sort of thing from that constant bathing in salt. So you've got to look after your body. You've got to feed yourself well, hydrate yourself all the time. And you've got to keep doing. You can't take any shortcuts, because this is a big endurance event, and you'll get found out if you do.
I was listening to a podcast with the guy who's just swam the UK. What's his name?
Edwards.
What's his name? I can't remember.
Reese Edwards.
Oh, possibly, yeah. He swam around the UK non-stop, not in the water, and he was saying that with the salt water, the impact of the salt water on the body, and on his tongue. Yeah. Did you? Yeah, his tongue started running. Goodness me.
Did you see the pictures of him? He had all that big scarring around his neck, because basically that's where his suit came up to. And instead of having a proper one that was linked into the helmet, he had a seam, and that then rubbed as he was swimming all the time. No, you can get it sort of, there's wetsuits that link up, as a hood on it.
So sorry, yeah.
And it's part of it. So he had a separate hat, and so he had a seam around the back of his neck, and you could see this raw mark.
Oh man!
So that's one of the problems. So any seams, you can get chafing all the time. So that's why a lot of the rowers, once they get out of public shot, row naked, because that stops any problems with that. Any
they
seams.
Do what naked?
Row naked.
When they're doing the challenge.
Yeah.
So, I was about to say, your body must change over that period of time. That what you just said, going naked would alleviate the problems of having fitting clothing when you start to not fit in sort of halfway through when you've lost a lot of weight and you put on weight.
But on average, you'll lose about 20% of your body weight. So there'll be a good bit about a year's time when I can start eating everything I see, so that I can pile on weight, so I can lose it on the trip. You have to sort of stock up a bit.
Yeah. Have you only got one cabin on the boat? Have you got a boat
2.
yet?
You haven't got a boat yet. We're negotiating about 2 actually. So yeah, that's our top priority because that makes it all slightly more real. We've all now started, done the entry form, so we've got our names on the Atlantic Campaign's website now. So we're up there. So it's becoming real.
That's good. Well, I'll put you under Glyn. I'll put you under Glyn as well.
Yeah.
Because they've obviously got a boat. And they won't be needing next year, I don't imagine. So no, yeah. Tell me about being a dentist in the army. Oh no, in the military. I've never the only time I ever dealt with a dentist in the military is having my teeth done. I hate the dentist.
That's right.
Generally speaking, because I didn't look after my teeth when I was a kid. But it fascinates me. There's 2 sides to there's a few sides to the military, but you got it's always fascinated me in the professional, job roles in the military from doctors. So you don't take offence to this, but you're almost operating like a civvy for most of it, for a lot of the time, and that's as in like healthcare kind of thing, but then you're very much part of the military machine, and you have you're military. It's always fascinating me, sort of balance what kind of experience it is for you being in the military as opposed to other people, because it's just I don't know, it's always explain it to me.
It probably goes back to when as a student you look at what can you do next. Now dad had been in the army. He was REME, then Ordnance Corps, so I sort of been around army camps all most of my life, sort of thing. So what do you want to do? Well, I could be a dentist and be a dentist in the army. So you apply for cadetship. So for your last 2 years at dental school, you're being paid as a second lieutenant on probation. And I got the chance. I said, well, you can do an elective, a study period abroad. Oh, okay, where can I go? Well, there's 2 to Germany, 1 to Hong Kong. Well, can I go to Hong Kong then? Yeah, okay. So I went to Hong Kong for about 4 weeks. As a student, paid for by the army, stayed at HMS Tamar, which is brilliant fun. And then I arrived. We do a little. It's called the Vickers and Tarts course, but I think it's supposed to be called the Professionally Qualified Officers course.
The Vickers and Tarts course.
Yeah,
yeah. Go on.
And so we have about 4 weeks at Sandhurst at Old College, charging around, the training area with firing off blanks with sticks in your hat and your cam creamed up your face. And I thought, I'll pay for this. This is brilliant fun. I had to do a little marching, but that's fine. Someone shouts at you a bit, well, that's fine. And then, that's a shame. That's all over. And then you carry on being a dentist. But why do you want to be a dentist in the army? You want, A, the money's good, I'll be honest, compared with Civvy Street, and B, you get life beyond dentistry. I did so many different things. One of the first things I did, we did an expedition. We walked Offers Dyke. 2 weeks doing that. Chance to do all sorts of things like that. Because I was in Aldershot, we had a unit. We entered every sporting competition. There weren't many people that wanted to do sport, so I was doing everything from biathlons, cross country. I must confess, running the South East District cross country with Depot Para was challenging. But so you could do all these things. And as a dentist, professionally, it was some bits were challenging. You had people that weren't interested in looking after their teeth, a lot of them, but you could get them sorted out. But the only limitation on how good I was, or who I treated and everything else, was my ability as a dentist. So what I could do, so it was my duty to make myself as good a dentist as I could, and I had a bit more time than some of my colleagues working in Civvy Street. So I would, in my time, certainly at Aldershot, I treated from a field marshal down to a private soldier. They all got the same. It's me as my ability as a dentist to get the same treatment. And then as you go on, you start. I mean, you look at the sort of military CV. It goes dental centre so and so, dental centre so and so, and then it becomes a whole list of letters that no one really understands what they mean. It was SO2 brackets 3 PB3 and SO2 bracket 3 AMS MCM div and all these staff job up at Glasgow. And you do follow a more sort of staff type profile. And then I got picked up. I did 2 years.
You mean as you got the ranks? You mean?
Yeah.
How does promote? In fact, why did you want to be a dentist in the first place? Like when you were younger?
It was too difficult to get into veterinary school.
So instead of animals, you had to go for humans.
Yeah, 3 people to speak back. It was just a disaster.
Oh, fair enough.
I wanted to do something sort of healthcare type thing, practical with your hands, a science sort of background. So And medicine, I was going through one or two issues, and I thought, well, the problem is once you qualify, you've got to carry on qualifying until, it never ends almost. But it's getting that way in dentistry now, which is good because we're all continuing to learn. But it's, and certainly my career's changed a lot, over the last 30-odd years.
What's changing with dentistry then? Is the knowledge of changing science is something?
Technology's coming in.
Technology,
so, for example, I've got a intraoral scanner. So if you've had a crown made, we'll do take moulds of the teeth. Very unpleasant, a mouthful of gunk comes out, and we pour it off to the lab and stuff. Now I can take a picture. I've got an intraoral camera that takes 3,000 images per second. I can email that to the lab, and then they can mill the crown, either 3D print it or mill it. Just send it straight back. So
3D printing.
Yeah.
Of the crown, and then send that back, and they'll send you the mould.
Yeah, no, just the crown. The crown. I don't have the models anymore.
Oh my god! How long does that take?
They can do that. If I email it to them on a Monday, they can be working on it within 7 minutes. You can get it back.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. They did a demonstration in Ghent. They used a drone to fly in the crown. It was made and fitted it that afternoon.
Does that bring costs down?
Well, you've got to invest in the technology, so it's sort of 6 of one, half a dozen the other. It does improve patient comfort, improves the outcome because you're getting more and more accurate, and improves turnaround time. So instead of waiting 3 weeks, within a week you're fitting the crown and that sort of thing. So it's heading that way. And technology, as it goes into the next generation, becomes cheaper, so costs don't escalate.
Explain to me. I'm thinking of my own dentistry experiences now. When with the tooth and the gum. What?
That's where we're going here.
I got questions. My daughter's got to go into she I'm gonna ask you, got you stuff now. She's got to have a few teeth out. Have some teeth straightened and that.
Yeah.
And I'm digressing here, it's got no point what I was saying. Anyway, she got her teeth out. Let's go back to what I was on about. Your tooth, you got one nerve in the tooth, right?
Not quite, no.
Okay.
Some teeth have more than one root. So your upper molars, for example.
Yeah.
They have three different roots, and a sort of range, in a tripod type thing. So they'll have different roots going different. So they're complicated.
Is there 3 nerves going in there?
Yeah.
So when you have to have a tooth out or some work done, and you have like 7 flipping injections in your gum, loads of them around.
Well, you don't need that many, but usually
loads. And when I have we are digressing here. When I have my teeth, I have the numbing injection.
Yeah.
Every time it goes to wear off, within about half hour leaving the dentist, I get a spot sort of here where I'm pointing like halfway down on my chin on the outside, and it is itchy on the skin, and I can't fix the itch. It just
it starts going back the tingling.
Oh my god! All day, it's horrendous. It's got a red raw. It's like an itch you can't fix because it must be itchy. It's obviously from the nerve on the inside.
Coming back into life. Yeah.
Really horrible. It is horrible. But she said, so she went to have a tooth. She had to have 4 out. She hadn't have 4 out, and she went in to have the first one out as part of the old real. She's basically got teeth growing, 2 layers.
Yeah.
And she said, they couldn't. I think they couldn't take it out because it's deep. It's embedded in like the roof of the mouth. The roots are quite deep in. So they said, we'll have to put you under for that one. Excuse me. But they said, but if we're going to put you under for that one, then we'll just take the other 3 out at the same time. So she's pretty good with it with the teeth. And I said, so you can have, so instead of having 1 taken, instead of having 4 taken out and the local anaesthetic and do 4 on the general, she said, that's enough. Result. She said, yes, result. She wasn't fazed with it at all. But I had that when you had the tooth just doesn't drop out and flipping teeth grow outside it. It was annoying. You get like multiple layers. Do you know what I mean? It was my canines. I had 2 sets of canines, and it would not come out for years.
Canines are big teeth, so
it was horrible. It was stuck in behind. I am digressing. Yeah. How do you? So in the military, with the promotion prospects from a dentistry point of view, is it part of a general medical channel of promotion? Or, in terms of appointments?
I have to go back. In my time, it was on time served, provided you hadn't cocked up anywhere along the line. So once you've done 5 years, you got your majority, promoted to major. And then 13 years, it used to be that was your promotion to lieutenant colonel, because that was the way you got the pay structure and rank structure.
How many years, sorry?
13.
Yeah.
So, but that's changed now, because it's obviously a flattening of the ranks within the medical services in the military.
What do you mean?
There's fewer colonels about. I mean, we had a 2-star general as head of the dental service when I was there. So now it's a full colonel who's director of the Army Dental Service, I believe.
Why has that happened? Is it just from
numbers have gone down quite dramatically. So you want to every dentist to have a career and something to aspire to. So now it's not automatic promotion. You've got to do the right courses and everything else and get recommendations.
Oh.
So it's changed a bit. So I mean, that was great for me, because I knew I was promoted to colonel on December the 31st, 1999.
Well, that was just a given.
Yeah.
How would you mess up? It'd be discipline issues, obviously.
Yeah.
But I imagine it wouldn't be a medical issue, would it?
Not professional, no. Not really. It's usually drink.
Oh, really?
Yeah, social misconduct.
Social misconduct, yeah. You guys don't get away with it like we as rankers used to.
Don't you believe it?
Yeah. I remember a story about a CO, and they were in one of our COs when I was serving, and a bunch of the old company commanders there, and there was a bet. One of the company commanders had a Ford Capri. This isn't long ago, mind. We recently moved into a new barracks, and there was a bet went on the officers' mess about whether the Ford Capri was wider than the double doors entrance into the mess.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, there's only one way to settle that argument, but the problem was on the towards the doors to the mess was two flights of steps, and then you got a Ford Capri being driven by this flipping renegade officer up the steps into the doorway. There you go, it fits, and there's a photo of one.
You wonder how those conversations start, don't you? Yeah,
the CO is now a prominent head of security at a bank that won't be mentioned. That everyone knows what I'm talking about.
High spirits.
Yeah, I don't know where the major is now, though. I got no idea. So where did you finish up with the army?
In my last 9 years, I only did 2 years looking at teeth. So that's when I started to do the. I did a staff job for a couple of years. That's the AMS MCM div up in Glasgow, the Army Personnel Centre. Then I went 6 months in Bosnia. Then it was 2 years at Staff College.
Yeah,
doing that, which was just tough. But as a dentist, because everyone else had their own expertise to fall back on. But when we were doing all these grand plans and campaigns, dentistry didn't feature much. So, I had to pretend to be other things. So it was tough, but really enjoyed some great people on it. Phil Joyce, I played my tight head prop forward. Oh, absolute star. We played rugby, was brilliant over those 2 years, and we lost one game, I think, in about 2 years. Imagine a peer group, all about the same age, same intensity, great fun.
Yeah.
So you did that. Then I did some teeth. I did another posh dental exam, and then I was CEO of 22 Fit Hospital based in Aldershot.
Ah.
So
how many people are based on Aldershot these days? So that when did you get out then?
2003.
That was your last post.
Yeah. So the last thing I did, I took him out on telly. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So it's got a nice way to finish.
Yeah. Where were you based out of then?
That was out of Aldershot, and then we went. We were based in sort of where was it? It was northern Kuwait, the Northern Great Desert, and then we moved forward into Iraq. But by then, I was with divisional headquarters. I'd been.
So you were doing the dentist post,
yeah,
but you deployed on the invasion.
Yeah. Wasn't doing dentistry as such. As CO, I wasn't doing any dentistry.
No, I know that. I know because I was going to ask you what the, sort of the dual rolling that you may have had to do. But so what were you doing then? When the Iraq invasion went on?
By then, I was with headquarters, divisional headquarters.
What were you doing with them?
I was the SO1 for the JFLOGC, the Joint Force Logistic Command, the medical component. So we were that link, and then looking at casualty flow and all that sort of thing.
What's SO1 mean?
Staff Officer Grade 1, so Lieutenant Colonel's post.
Right, got you. Yeah, because I remember that, and SO1 and SO2, and like you were saying, you get all those letters that mean nothing. That's all I remember about Brigade Headquarters when I was in lots of people I knew have gone through the ranks, not through the ranks, but were officers. And where's he now? He's in Brigade HQ. What's he doing? Oh, he's SO1, blah, 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 blah. I don't have a clue what that is.
Exactly.
If it's anything above battalion commander, I'm going to blame in clue. So who are you liaison? So you're like a liaison then, yeah?
Yeah, so you then involved with the casualty chain and reporting back, because the concern was, the planning concerns was the number of casualties, and then using what limited resources we had, and how you'd link in with the other nations that were there to make sure that casualties were well looked after.
Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't have many casualties in that one, did we?
No.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah, so the planning wasn't the toughest job I've done. Yeah, it was a big build-up, and having my field hospital there initially. Because what had happened there was we'd been planning to go over Christmas 2002. Oh, is it today we're going to go, sort of thing, And then we were stood down, and 101 Log Brigade was put on firefighting duties. Remember, there's a fireman strike at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I was on that. Op fiasco. Flipping heck, yeah.
So we were stood down, and then 3 Field Hospital was supposed to go, but they got... They made a lot of protests about it. So there was a march with Port was blockaded. So the brigade commander rings me up and says, "Right, Roy, you said," because we said, as soon as you get troops in theatre, you need a hospital, a Roll 3 capability, because, okay, there's no war fighting, but they're going to run over someone's foot, they're going to be ill, they're going to drop something on, they're going to get injured some way, So as soon as you get there, you need a host nation, or we supply our own. And we developed it so you could fit it all in one aircraft in a certain number of ISO containers, and we did all the planning for it, and we trialled it a couple of times, and the brigadier rang me and said, "Right, Roy, said you could do it. Just go and fucking do it." And that's the sort of chain of command. We learn lots about orders and everything else. That was the one phone call we had, and that was it. We were off on next week. We were off. So we developed a 25-bed hospital that could be set up within 24 hours, accepting patients within 48 hours in northern Kuwait, in the desert there.
What's the capabilities of a Roll 3?
Roll 3 is hospital. So we had 2 operating tables.
Yeah.
Obviously anaesthetists, so you could do surgery. We had 2 intensive care beds. We had a 25-bed ward. You had physio, you had path lab, and you had a dentist, and you had an A&E component.
Path lab?
Pathology lab, looking at if someone's got bloods and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, path lab in the desert was a challenge, because they had to run certain tests. You've got to keep the temperatures at a certain... they did X-ray as well, by the way. Keep the temperature down within the tent, as it were, because their stuff goes all temperature dependent. So it was a real challenge to.
And you said that was the same with the X-rays?
Well, in those days it was still processing films. So you imagine you had to.
Oh, really?
And as the chemicals get warm,
of course, it was 2003.
Yeah. So I mean, digital. I presume it's all digital now. So that make life a bit easier, and then it's easier to sort of get opinions. You can then ping it backwards and forwards and things.
Mm-hmm. So you run in that field hospital?
Yeah.
How does it get manned? Do you get any choice in the way and who you have as part of the team? Running the different departments and. No.
It's just who's available to a certain extent. So we had a blend of regulars and TA, reservists coming out, and they work really well, because they work really well as teams together. Yeah, they all know their role, and as long as you're pulling everything together, it worked really well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What kind of issues do you have in Kuwait before the invasion? Apart from alcohol related.
Not too bad.
There wasn't any alcohol there, was there? As I recall, I don't remember any.
Bosnia was a different place, but that's a different thing altogether. I always remember the director, the medical director, came up to me and said, "Roy, I've got a chap in ITU who's a 90% match for bubonic plague." And you think, because remember there was all this stuff about biological warfare, dropping in small box type things or anything, on rags left around, local support and that sort of thing. And I said, okay, we're not going to report it yet till it's 100%. And as it was, he had a type of malaria, which can mimic. Malaria is a great mimic of all sorts of diseases. So he was very seriously ill, and then so we got him stabilised and got him out of theatre. But we had, the Padre turned up. And he said, "Sir, do you mind if the Padre shares your tent?" "Oh, not at all." So he turns up, and he's got one of these CPAP machines for sleep apnea, the snoring type thing. He said, "Excuse me, sir, where do I plug this in?" I said, "Padre, we're in a tent in the middle of the desert. There aren't any plugs."
Oh, God.
So the one place I did have a plug was by intensive care, one of my 2 intensive care beds. Right, you can stay there and then you can leave. There's no point being in theatre. You can't get a wall with a CPAP machine. You've got to plug in at night. So you had sort of odd things like that. We had
Well, the dude with the malaria must have got that from somewhere else.
Kuwait. No, he turned up with it. So there was a great thing to get people out. And we had people turning up in plaster casts. We had one chap. We had one chap who was there. He still had stitches in. He had some kind of ear injury and lost, and he had it pulled off, but all stitched back on. And we were there, and at the time there was lots of alarms going off, so you're putting on your respirator all the time. Well, if you had your ear stitched off, you're putting on a normal respirator. It does some damage each time you take it on and off. So getting things set up. So we said, well, we need the CAS bags so we can practice with them. So he'd ring back London, and one particular colonel, again, I shan't name, he was saying, well, they're war stock, you can't have them. He said, well, it might be war tomorrow. You can have them tomorrow then. So you had a lot of that, and you had people. A lot of people came out ill because there was such a push to get numbers there. So heat was a bit of an issue, training. So by the time the war fighting started, I was actually in division headquarters, so I didn't see many of the casualties coming in at that stage. But we had some quite serious head and neck ones as well came through.
Yeah, I mean, the heat was the big one. When we mentioned there about the firefighting, I think we went on to Op Fiasco.
Just lined up, wasn't it?
I know, yeah. It was November or December. I was just a Tom at the time. And then we deployed to Iraq. So that was a couple of months doing that, I think it was. And then we deployed to Iraq February or March
we went
next year. And that was frustrating. Oh my God. Because we knew we were going. We just didn't know when. And to not be able to train. I mean, for me, the Tom, it wasn't my concern, really. But I remember the commanders tearing their hair out, and now myself looking back as having become a commander after, I think, oh my God, it must have been so frustrating,
Well, we had the same scenario. Each week, each day, Christmas Day, we had a meeting over the Christmas stand down, thinking, are we going to go in? We were going to call everyone back off leave. Is today the day, sort of thing? And it was just this sort of hurry up and wait, which is classic army training, I suppose.
What was different about Bosnia then?
Bosnia, there's a lot more drink-related problems.
Yeah. Was there more downtime for the troops?
I think the issue I was in Split for the first part of my tour there, and that was a staging post for people coming in out there. So the up country, they were quite stricter on what you would drink. In Split, there were 54 various bars in camp at various points. So
in camp,
Jesus. So people let their hair down, so to speak. So
was it a multinational camp?
Yeah.
So who was in there? Obviously, who was in there? Nations-wide.
Nationwide. Dutch were in there. They were a big element. We had some Turks in there as well. So I think it was a small American bit down in Split, but not much.
I had a guest on who is Serbian.
Oh, right. Yeah.
She's married to a ex-military, ex-British Army guy now, mate of mine. But she came on. She came on to talk. She got blown up in Afghan when she went out there as a what you call it? Not project manager. God, I can't remember it. Sort of a PRT kind of thing. She had some private security looking after her, and they got suicide bombers attacked them. But she was talking about growing up in Serbia and all that was going on, and it was an interesting perspective to hear from the way she described, her perspective on that. So, because the Serbians were sort of, they were the enemy, weren't they? If you think back, they were the bad guys, and to hear from her perspective as a civvy, and she's quite impartial,
I think the problem was it was a certain element of some of the Bosnian Serbs were perhaps slightly worse. There's Mladic and that lot, and I think is. The whole of that is such a complex issue that goes back for so long. Both sides had their elements, but Srebrenica and things like that are just incredible. It's happened in our lifetimes.
Yeah, it was hard to work out that one. Everyone was bad and everyone was good. Everyone was arseholes.
I think the bit that really staggered me when I was there was I was there about 97, so it was quite late on. It was the sort of the selective ethnic cleansing that went on. You went around some of the villages and things. That house would be burnt down, that one over there be burnt down. It was just almost random, And if just neighbours just picking on that one family, even though they'd lived together for years, suddenly all this hatred just boiled over, and it just became horrible, really. Victimisation and ethnic cleansing.
We were when I was talking to her, and when we were talking off air, when I was reading between lines of what she was saying, and she guards her words. Very intelligent woman. She expresses herself very well, and she also guards what she says very well. And one of the catalysts for what sent the country down the pan was an independence referendum. No, deadly serious, and that's when you speak to them about the people who are sort of politically aware at the time and sort of educated in that background. That's one of the catalysts, not the cause, but one of the factors that ended up driving people apart. Obviously it flipping resonates with what's going on at the minute. I don't know if I'd be a Brexiteer or a Remainer, but I know it's annoying me at the minute with everything that's going on.
I think what's sad about what's going on now is people now our political class are focusing on themselves and looking after themselves, and not looking at what's best for the country, instead of all getting together and saying, everyone's trying to score points and saying this is rubbish. Yeah. But actually they should say, well, this is what, no one's offering anything constructive anymore. It's just, this is rubbish.
Yeah, I 100% agree. 100% agree. I don't have much faith in politics. Anyway, I think it's something that's just doomed to failure because of the way it is. But as you say there, there's some as soon as the opposition, whether that's Labour or Conservative or whoever it is at the time, as soon as opposition sniff that there's a bit of controversy or a chance to sway public opinion in their favour, because that could then flip public opinion on whoever's in charge, or be that the individual, the PM, or be that the party in charge, and so they can get power, then they just gets pounced on, over dramatise everything, which is what's happening now, which is fine, as you're saying, if it's for the good of the country. But when you get a politician, and I can't remember, it was a lady, I can't remember her bloody name, and she said it was the day before I think Theresa May was releasing a draft Brexit deal.
Right, yeah.
And this politician said, well, I haven't seen it yet, but I can't imagine it's the kind of thing I would be willing to agree with. And that one sentence, I thought, what is that attitude? You haven't seen it, yet you're already committing yourself to not agreeing with it. Where is your public interest? And unfortunately, and this paints me as like a Brexiteer, I'm neither here nor there. I didn't vote either. I didn't vote because I have this throw in my face a lot. I didn't vote because I don't know what information to trust. Everything is twisted. So I don't.
I think that campaign in particular was really awful. The way it was portrayed, the way it was done. It's a simple yes, no, but actually that some of the information that was portrayed, there's still legal cases going on, isn't it? Saying about money was spent and all that sort of thing was all wrong. I thought that campaign, and then we had this massive sort of era where things changed. Then you had Trump being elected not long afterwards. The world's gone mad, sort of thing. But I think that referendum, and they say, let's have another one. But what will that prove? The vote's been had, so the idea that, right, that's the vote, it's leave Europe, so sort it out, sort of thing. So, what I would have thought would have been sense was, right, let's get so many people from different parties, let's work out the best way to leave Europe. And now it's become a political issue. It's never going to happen in an orderly fashion. It's now got stalemate, and they'll have another vote. And if they say, what are we going to vote for? Stay in, stay out, this deal? We do.
I can't see. Look, if they say somehow, I can't see how it happened. But let's say there was another referendum held, and they say, well, we'll have another referendum because we didn't know all the information we know now, and that we didn't know the information then that we know now, kind of thing. Well, that's
fine. So
we know no more accurate information than we did then. It's still uncertainty, and if you hold another referendum, what makes that referendum more valid than the previous one.
Exactly.
It would make a mockery of every single vote or anything that goes down the line, because it invalidates everything. It's like saying, a year after the Conservatives get in, or Labour get in, or Theresa May or John Major or flipping whoever get in, a year later we go, whoa, we should have another general election, because we didn't know he was going to be a fucking nutter 6 months ago. We didn't know that he was going to completely reverse on his policies and this, that and the other. It's the same thing. You can't do it again. Yes, I think you can argue, if the deal that she's striking is a good one or not. But if you did it objectively, and not, as we said, for your own political gain, and just say, no, we don't agree with it, because if we don't agree with it enough, then that's going to unseat her, and then we can get one of our own people in power, and then we're in charge of all the money and all the power. That's what it's about. Pisses me off. I think we should just go, because of the uncertainty, and because no one knows what's going to happen. I don't think they don't know, and I also think that it's going to be that slight an impact, positive or negative. It won't even fucking matter. I don't think it won't even impact us that greatly. So I think that, look, let's just sign it off. Let's get to the door, because that will. The best thing for us is to appear and act as a stable country. Politically, economically, when all this crap's going on, it just makes us vulnerable, because there's not just the infighting going on. Other countries are looking to seize on this and pounce on this and take away the
financial
commercial strength and economic strength we have in certain industries. They'll be fucking loving it, which is why it's all a power thing in a different way. I mean, the Prime Minister of Norway came out today and said, what did he say? I think he said that he would support. It's to do with supporting a different type of deal to what Theresa May is negotiating. All this, right? It annoys me. I wish that. Everyone could see how much spin there is on things, and the real motivations behind why people are doing things. And this isn't conspiracy theory. It's not. It's not. Jeremy Corbyn isn't piping up and saying what he says because he wants the best for the country. He's piping up right now and saying what he's saying because he wants to be the fucking Prime Minister. He doesn't care how he gets there. He doesn't care.
He had no views on the referendum. He hardly spoke, did he, the whole time?
And it's not. And I'm just. It's the same for any of the politicians. Yeah. It's the same for any of them. But that's the game. And it sells papers, and it sells TV, and the right one there, the right one. I don't know. But I mean, people weren't happy with being in the EU. Changes as good as the rest. So I don't know. Maybe it's for the better.
Well, something had to happen. I think one way or the other, because it was always us against Europe, wasn't it? That's how it's always been portrayed. So let's see how we get on our own.
Yeah, I think we should be all right. But again, we'll never know either way. So whatever, just do it. It's done. Let's do it. The people have spoken.
Well, they have, and that is the one good thing. I mean, whilst the result was surprise, it's actually one of the first times where a plebiscite has actually got a result that's going to change the course of the nation. So I think that's quite a powerful thing to have when you look back on that. So even though the referendum just said yes or no, and just went, we didn't vote for that. Well, you don't know what you voted. It was yes or no is what you voted for, in or out. You wouldn't vote for hard Brexit, soft, whatever. You voted in or out. So and that's what the vote was. And and it was a surprising result. I think most people didn't expect it to go that way, but the people have spoken. So I think it's up to the political class to listen and do what we can to get it right.
Yeah, well, I expected it to go that way, and I think it was your opinion of where it was going to go was down to where you live and who your circle of friends were. I mean, predominantly the Brexiters are painted with that sort of right wing, right leaning, keep Britain British, Tommy Robinson kind of attitude.
And immigration being
and unfortunately that's the case. And so with myself, a lot of ex-military friends. It's not to say that we're all flipping right-leaning, Tommy Robinson supporters. But we're sort of more right than left, I'd say. In general, I'm neither. I'm probably more left, to be honest. But I thought, well, yeah, this is going to be we're going to vote for Brexit. And then when it happened, I spoke to a friend, really good friend down in London, whose family is sort of upper middle class. She grew up in a very nice part of Surrey, and she could not believe it. She could not believe that, one, it was that close, and two, it went the way of the Brexit. She couldn't believe it. No, everyone wanted to stay. I'm thinking, no, it's not the case. It's not the case. Look, how many immigrants you got down in? I won't say where she lives, because down in that part of Surrey you're from. It's that. It doesn't affect you. So it doesn't affect your circle of friends. So if people are influenced in that way, and they bought into that, because the immigration argument was a massive argument for the Brexit campaign. It was huge because they were appealing to those masses who sort of weren't happy or aren't happy with the UK and the way things are, and that they don't, they're not living the lives they want to live. And at the time, that was all chucked on immigration. It was the major thing, if I remember. Immigration was the major problem, and they've taken the jobs, it's the money, and the EU are doing all this, so we can go back, So it's from where it's who your circle.
It's how it's portrayed, wasn't it? There's so many other things. It's such a clearly complex issue that
no one knows what's going to happen.
We'll see in March next year.
I know, yeah. If we get there, well, aren't they? Isn't the Supreme Court looking at extending Article 50?
Yeah, they haven't followed it.
Yeah, because it's Article 50 has brought us to March 2019, right? Yeah. It's a Supreme Court decision. Or they've been reviewing whether it would be if the UK Parliament government voted to extend the Article 50 period, would it be allowed? And they're debating. They've had the hearing. They're coming to a decision. I don't think they'll extend it. But having said that, it might do, because then the chaos would continue in the UK for longer, which would weaken us further in terms of our ability to deal with the external entities. I don't know. Oh my God, how long have we been talking?
You're back on the conspiracy again, aren't you?
Mate, I know. I don't trust any of it. I was looking at the BBC today, and see, I can't stand any of the papers, but I now what I do is I flick between the BBC and Sky, and just to have a look at the news. I look at the news to see if any flipping catastrophes have happened. And the BBC said, what was the headline? Theresa May. Oh God, what did it say?
Hadn't given up or something, was it?
No. It says the Treasury says that there'll be minimal, very little economic cost for Brexit, and then I flicked to Sky, and it said that growth will be economic growth will be impacted by 79%. Yeah, it's just, they were talking about the same sources, and just two different. One saying they just play each other, just playing into two different parts of the country.
Yeah,
it's like mirrors.
Yeah, that keeps them going, though, isn't it? So
it's like CNN and Fox News, isn't it? yeah, fake news. Yeah, where were we before Brexit?
Bosnia.
Oh, Bosnia. How did Bosnia work out?
I managed to play some rugby in Bosnia, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I used to go down and train at Split with the team down there. It's a Croatian team down there. So
that's right, Croatian rugby team.
Yeah, they were good fun going down there. On Thursday night, I think we're going and play a lot of touch rugby, a lot of running about. So
were they quite a physical side?
Well, it was touch rugby, but yeah, it was pretty physical.
Yeah.
So the number of arguments you got in a game like that, and it was just. But for me, it was brilliant. I mean, I didn't understand a word. Just ran around and shouted and pointed. It was great fun. I mean, I can't remember how I even got there, but
where to Split to the ground? You mean?
No, how on earth I got myself invited to go along training with them every week? Yeah, I can't remember what the route was, but
one of those dodgy bars,
probably. But I thought it was fantastic, to go along and operational tour, and there I was playing rugby. So it was,
So when you were in, then was majority your fitness, your upkeeping your fitness, is that through rugby, or what was your regime?
I always had the view that I had to be fit to play rugby. I didn't play rugby to get fit. So I used to go out an awful lot, a lot of running. I did a lot of rugby training. I tried to avoid doing all the stuff, doing like weights and stuff. I never liked any of that. Those free weights or multi gyms, never liked that at all. But so it's mainly just aerobic fitness all the time, doing various things.
What about? So you said like natural strength for the hooker?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Degree of stupidity. I always felt that helped.
Yeah.
I certainly I was much fairly quick as a hooker as well. So you almost play as an extra back row getting around the park.
Yeah.
So
you don't get a lot of quick hookers. I remember Keith Wood. He's a prop, wasn't he?
Hooker.
Wait, was he hooker?
Yeah.
Hooker. I always remember the moment. I say I always remember the moment. I'm trying to remember the details now. I think Ireland were playing England, and he, with the winger, English winger, got the ball. No, Keith Wood intercepted the ball, and as a hooker, and because he was quick as well, and he was on the touchline, and he turns on his heels, and he out accelerated the English. He did the wing on the outside half. He doesn't end up scoring a try. I always remember Keith Wood doing that. Yeah, he was a rapid hooker. He wasn't huge either, was he? Oh no, it wasn't for Ireland. It was for the British Lions.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, for the British Lions. Yeah. Have you ever played any, not testimonials? What would you call them? With the military, with the army teams against sort of international sides or Premiership sides?
The closest we got was we went to Bermuda and played in the Classics tournament, which is a sort of over 35s tournament. So there you have over 35 international players playing. We weren't allowed to play against them, but they had South African there, Joel Scrantz and all that. They had the old Greys, they called them, the old former All Blacks playing. They had Mike Teague, Winterbottom, all these sort of. And because you're a player in this tournament, you were allowed in the players' bar with them. That was fantastic fun. But we played New Orleans, which was great fun, and we played Bermuda. Played one of the Bermuda sides as well. We beat HMS Cardiff were there as well. So it was lots of rivalry going on. So that was probably the closest we've been part of that tournament like that. Mm-hmm. But that's well worth going to.
You ever been involved in coaching, really?
I did a little bit because I was my role at OLs, Old Leamingtonians. I got involved with coaching South Warwickshire District under 17s, and that's a feeder then for Warwickshire under 18s. And all of a sudden I'm helping out with Warwickshire 18s as well, sort of thing. So got involved with that, and obviously when your son goes up, we get involved, take him along. But he went off, actually got a choral scholarship to Warwick, so he went off to sing in the choir on a Sunday. So I then took my daughter. She played tag rugby a lot, so I went along with her. But I was told not to shout too much at the.
Yeah, they hate it, don't they?
They're only children. Just calm down.
Well, you've got to be careful these days as well. With
you do.
As in, so many bloody rules. I don't know, because my last few years, my experience of sort of youth sport has been through football. My daughters, they were footballers. They were both footballers at one point in time. One's only 10, the other one's 13. The other one's still playing football now. I ended up as a welfare officer for the first club they played for, the child welfare officer, and then I ended up coaching. Never a clue. I don't know football. Running a line sometimes. I remember the first time I ran the line was the first year my eldest was at an age where the offside rule was. I did not have a. she even to this day she dreads it when they say when the coach says, "Hugh, do you mind running the line for us?" And I'll go, "Yeah, And Ellie May, who else? Oh my God, no, Daddy, no." Because the first couple of matches, I'd put the flag up thinking it was offside, and the ref would blow the ref would go. You go, "What was that for, mate?" I say, "Offside." And he said, "You can't have offside if a throw in." Oh, I didn't know that, so everyone was looking at me going, "Who is this space cadet?" Yeah, who was also coaching. Yeah, but the rules with youth football and parenting, they're trying to. Obviously, you got the issues with football with hooliganism, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the ways or the main way that they're trying to stamp that out, that bad stigma attached to football fans is at grassroots level. So it's crazy. It's crazy. It seems backwards to me when they're trying to do it. So when you go to a football match, it's called a respect line. I don't know if you're aware of this. And it's a line.
I've never been to a football match, so
it's a line, and this is at any level. It's a line, and it's 2 meters back from the touch line. You're not allowed to encroach that line, and the spectators can only stand on one side of the pitch. You can't go all around the pitch. You got to stay 2 meters back.
It makes sense. I can see that.
But it doesn't. It doesn't fix the issue. Because if they're if you're trying to fix the problem that you get hooligans at the top level of football, hooligan fans, and the top levels where it matters, because that's what everyone
surely
sees.
For those, that's just a lifestyle. Football's just a conduit for it, isn't it? I mean, you think the football's that relevant?
Why is it not the same in rugby?
In rugby, most people that go along and watch rugby have played rugby. It's only internationals.
It's got to be the case for football, surely. It's more playable. Yeah, no, it has to be. Okay, so for me, the main issues with the football is that the role models that these people are looking at are people on the pitch. Look at the way these people on the pitch treat the authority figures, like the ref and the. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It breaks me. So where they should be trying to fix it is the players. It's like in rugby, you gob off a referee on the rugby pitch. Well, you're going back 10 metres. You've just lost 10 metres of ground. There's a penalty against you for just for questioning the referee. So it does. It rarely happens. We're getting away with a bit of scrapping, but you can't. Because
that's interpretation.
But you can't question the authority. No. It should be the same in football. They're getting that way. But I mean, putting having the 2 meters line back from on the respect line side of the pitch. That's the other one. It's not a football until you get to a certain age. I think it's all grassroots. 18 and below, it's not allowed to be competitive. So football is not competitive, even though there's leagues, and even though the object of the game is to score more goals than the opponent. It's not competitive. So the aim is not to win the game. The aim is to take part. It's not competition, not allowed. So where you got it, let's say another example of that is where you got a team, an age group of under 13s, and you got enough to make two sides, an A and a B team, for example. Well, you can't. Well, one, you can't call them A and B team. It's got to be yellow team and green team, for example. It's got to be, and they're not allowed to have the good side and the not so good side.
When I was coaching the under 9s, it was the same then, because what he didn't want to do, because certainly in rugby people are going to grow up at different rates, and whilst they might be A and B now, in 3 years' time, they could well be reversed. So you want to be as inclusive as possible. Mm-hmm. And it gets back to what you're saying about the mixed ability, side that played at the patrons' lunch you went to. It's encouraging people, as many people as possible, to get out. And I think that's where, what we try to do is just keep the family, if you like, as big as possible. So that because you're going to lose people as you go up through the years, just keep it as big as possible, include everyone. There's always space for someone in every team. So I think that's what, that side of it, I think, is what you're trying to get at, isn't it? Just get everyone playing and not sort of already, at 10 you're in the C team and that's it, your career's over.
Yeah, well, I see what you say. I don't agree with that. I agree with the inclusion, but I also think that you should have the A and the B and the C, whereas the A is the better ability. That doesn't mean that you're always A's. If your ability goes down between one season and the next, or game to game, then you go into the B and you go into the C. Because you have to drive competition. You've got to drive the aspiration to want to be better. And if everyone's getting the same bite of the apple, regardless of their ability or regardless of the effort they put in,
but that's a different.
Then we get nowhere.
Yeah, well, you've got to have the level you want everyone to get. So you may be spending more time on other players getting them up to that level, but you've got to keep the ones that are good already active as well. So it's rotating around, just keeping everyone going. I think that was the key. Yeah,
if it's managed well, it's fine. Yeah, definitely. So who are the other who are the other guys on the Atlantic Mavericks team?
There's four of us. There's
3 of them ex-military, are they?
We're all ex-military.
Sorry. Sorry.
So 4 of us, all ex-military. 3 of us know each other 30 years. So we were playing rugby in Berlin and places in in the 1980s and things, late 90s. And then Ian, poor chap, he turned up to see me at my practice and we got chatting. What are you doing now then? So I got him playing rugby for the Mavericks as we carried on our fixtures. And his partner, he went down to see Roy again and get roped into something else. And then the rowing thing started. So. And I had a brief chat. Oh, this is our latest project. Oh, I'd done some of these in John. Really? So I got a little video, played him that, and then he was hooked, and then so he became a reserve. And then one of our other chums, he dropped out because his body said, I can't do this. Second operation on his knee within 12 months. And so Ian Donnelly got in. He's he's quite local in Ironbridge, to Stanley Shrewsbury. So 4 ex-military.
What units?
2 reams, 1 dentist, 1 gunner.
Oh, okay. All officers? No.
Ian retired after. He kept extending his career. Ian Davis, ASM in the Remy. Tiny was, I think, he was at BM with the Remy as well. Tiny's called Tiny. He's about 6'6" and 20 stone. And then Ian was with the Gunners. I major with the Gunners. So.
Do you not want to light people on the boat? Or is it common?
Tiny is our top rower, so he was the only one that rowed before we started.
Any decent level?
He rowed for the army and things.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah, awesome.
Although when we went, we did some training offshore rowing last month. He was the only one to capsize. So.
Okay. They reckon I think it's rowing and swimming are the only 2 sports where it exercises nearly every single muscle in the body.
Rowing's been phenomenal. I mean, I'd come to it late, but it's tough, but it's really good, and you really benefit from it. Yeah,
I enjoy the concept rower. I've not done it properly. My dad used to row for England when he was in college. And
what are you doing next year then? We might need a reserve.
Well, my cousin did it for Great Britain, but she was. God, you think of rowers as, like you're saying there, 6'6", built like brick shit houses, pardon the expression. I mean, my dad's 6'3", and he's not a slight man.
It's all levers, you're saying, for them.
Yeah. And then my cousin, she's tall, she's about my height, but there is not an ounce of muscle on her. And I mean, she's slim. Not an ounce of muscle on her. You look and you think, flipping heck, you're like a yoga, well, she's a yoga teacher now, but you're not a rower, and she compete with GB. I never used to work it out how she would compete like that, and she was superb at it. But then the body generates power in peculiar ways, doesn't it?
They train really, and the level they're at is just phenomenal. I look at the time some of those do. Awesome.
Yeah, all forearms and muscles in weird places. Your shins, the front of your shins, and the side where you're curling your toes up against the and twisting the But do you have to? When you're rowing all that way, do you have to twist the oars and that?
Feathering.
Do you have to feather the oars or not?
It depends on the wind to a certain extent. It's not as crucial because you're not on a flat, calm rowing as you would be.
So the oars are kind of higher then,
Well, the boat's going to be all over the shop, so that oar might be in at that height, that oar might be down at that height.
Oh, really?
So you almost develop this sort of running man type style because at some point there's going to be some pretty big waves about, so it's going to be difficult to row. But what we're trying to do is learn in an ideal way, so that when the blade's engaging the water, you're getting the maximum out of each oar stroke, all the time. So you're not doing air shots or anything like that. So you've got to almost have a light touch when you're manoeuvring the blade, you're doing the recovery, and then when you're doing the catch, you've got to make sure you're in the water. So it's learning like that. So whilst we're learning to row now, it's when we get the boat and start practicing on the sea, that's going to be another step up.
What about, I was just thinking there, my health and safety head on. If you were every stroke, now for me to be able to do that, I'm thinking I'd have to glance at each oar to see where the water level is and get them in and catch the water.
You float. You have your light hands, so you literally don't have it gripped that tightly. You almost have it just slack in your hands. So you have a loose grip, so that you just. I joined the Shropshire Adventure Rowing Club, and we row up and down the Severn at night. In the night, pitch black and everything else. And the only training instructions I was given them was, just float your oar. What does that mean? And what it means is you just literally just put the oar in the water and it finds the right level. So what you do is just relax your hands, so it's soft hands almost whilst you're doing the recovery to find the water, and then you drive.
Yeah. I don't know.
Sounds simple, doesn't it? I'm sure.
I can't imagine it being simple. I'm thinking of the. I was thinking you have to glance see where the waves are. And I think if you put a couple of wing mirrors on either side of the boat, you can look at the mirrors and see where the oars are dropping in. See, there you go. Think about that one. Don't laugh. Think about that one.
No. You can get these little hats with mirrors on, can't you? Sculling cap. You can see where you're going. Yeah. You're rowing backwards basically. You can't see where you're going.
The scull's a bluff job, isn't it? Is it the skull that you call a skull at the head of the boat? When
sculling those little ones where there's
what do you call the guy who sits in the front of the boat? The cock skull. Sorry, the cocks. Yeah, that's a bluff job. How much skill is involved in being a cox? Surely it can't be a lot.
Oh, I think there is. Yeah, keeping the rhythm of the boat going and steering, finding the right course. Oh, dear chap. We're not taking one across the Atlantic.
I never know. I was going to say might have an injury. Touch wood, and they could be a cox like we done. Are Akuma sponsor? I just seen a jacket. Are Akuma sponsoring the clothing?
We're hoping so. This was.
We are now.
This was our initial sort of negotiations, getting some team gear. When we went out last year to see the start of last year's race.
Yeah.
Because you go along. I mean, I think this year they're going about 2 weeks' time. I think the guests have said, and they've got 28 boats, 88 rowers from 14 nations. So, and they all start at the same point.
Yeah.
Which is just brilliant. So
you get set off at different times.
You just go off. You have your start time, so they send them all off at various points. But it's everyone's there together. So for us, information is power. You want to chat to people, find out, how did you raise the finance? How would you do this? What training? Anything else? So you just chat to people. And we wanted to go along as a team, so we got on Mavericks.
On the last one, or you on this one?
We went out last December
to
chat to people. A few days there.
Yeah.
I mean, as it was, the start of the race was actually delayed because of the wind, so we didn't actually physically see the start. But we were there. We could bump into crews. You saw them getting the final preparations. So you went round and chatted. You saw the different style of boats as well, because there's all different pure boats, concept boats, and all that sort of thing. So it's just gathering, just like being sponge, just gathering much information for us as well. It was a good chance to sit down over a few beers and say, right, what is it we want to do? We said we're going to row the Atlantic. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to me? Sort of thing, and are we going to go for a world record? Well, probably not. We're all in our late 50s. What's our aim? Our aim is to go from La Gomera to Antigua. I want to do it in less than 45 days, but 45 days is our target.
Have you thought about getting there for the end of the race?
To go to Antigua?
Yeah.
Would do, but it's...
Could be as important as seeing the start.
Well,
maybe.
But it's slightly more unpredictable, the end of the race.
Yeah.
And I'm busy training to go next year as well.
Yeah,
fair
point.
I like the idea of going to Antigua for that. You ought to come and see us when we arrive.
Yeah, come do a podcast. Yeah, definitely. No, but Kuma kit's good. Oh, they did these jerseys.
I look forward to receiving mine.
I get it Friday. What else? So, have you secured any other sponsors yet?
There's lots of.
You just started, haven't you? You just started.
Well, no, we've had it for about a year, but it is difficult to get there. So we've we've organised a great duck race, raising a bit of money, but a lot of fun. So Ian said, it has this orderly start. We put 800 plastic ducks into the river. He said, I said, well, that looked really good when you did that. Yeah. He said, from that moment on, became absolute chaos. It was like Lauren Hardy. They fell in, both of them fell in. Ducks all down the river. So that was brilliant fun. We got having various events. We're doing a dinner night at the Warwickshire in January.
Oh, really?
To come along. Again, we're going to get a guest speaker, but hopefully we've got one chap who, as a blind vet, who's just finished rowing the Pacific in June this year. So,
amazing. Who's that?
Sparky. Phil Sparks, I think his name is. So he's going to come along. In March, we're hoping to do a 24-hour sort of continuous row at the Warwickshire, we might do it outside.
The Warwickshire
Golf and Country Club.
Right, yeah.
Luke Button, you might do it outside, so for an extra fee, come and chuck a bucket of water over us to make it realistic. So we're always trying to do events like that. We had we took a rowing machine and a rowing boat ocean rowing boat to the last Rugby for Heroes, on display. And when we get our boat, we're going to tap that round as well. So you're always doing things like that, but it's negotiating with some of the corporates is the big thing to generate that sort of income. 'Cause you've got to raise best part of 100k to get to the start line.
God almighty. But what does that include? Purchasing the boat?
That's the boat.
Yeah.
That's the training. You got to get the boat to La Gomera. You've got to get it back from Antigua. All things like that. There's some safety courses. And food, food, you've got to eat 6,000 calories just about each day, so a tiny bit more. So he's having a trailer at the back to get his food. So you got to pay for your food. I mean, by doing it as part of the Talisker Whisky Atlantic Challenge, you've got to have an awful lot of safety gear as well, and that's compulsory. The life raft, and they come along, they inspect it and all that sort of thing. So, so our view is always, if it's safety, that's maximum spend on that, and anything else we can perhaps cut back on where we can. So we're looking at securing some rations, some wet rations and that sort of thing, which we can take with us through various friends and sources. I'm sure you remember those days.
I know a few people. yeah, we have to start wrapping this up. So where can people find you, follow you? Atlantic Mavericks.
AtlanticMavericks.co.uk website. We're on Facebook. We are running Twitter. I am new to all the social media, so I'm learning new skills all the time.
Yeah. Who's running it? Are you running it between yourselves?
Between ourselves at the moment, going along. We've all got various skill sets and responsibilities, so we're all trying to link in. One of the beauty about being backgrounds we all have is we know lots of people and lots of sources, so like coming along to things like this, it's you bump into someone, I know so and so, I know, and you'll know each other, and it's a wonderful network of support. So that side of it's been great. So most people, their initial reaction is you're absolutely mad, and then I'll definitely want to support you in some way. So that side of it is great.
Yeah, you are mad. I can't, let's just say at the start, I can't believe I've met 3 people randomly and they've come on the podcast who're doing the same challenge when there's so few people do the challenge. I don't know. When how many teams taking part in the last one?
In this December, there's going to be 28 teams, 88 rowers from 14.
So 28 teams, and I've had managed to have 3 on, but random. I almost feel like I'm doing it injustice by making it seem like everyone does it. It's not the case. Hardly anyone does it because it's 3,000 miles of.
Well, at the moment, more people have been into space than have rowed the Atlantic.
Really?
Yeah.
My God. There you go. Yeah. Is there anything else? Shameless plug opportunity. Well, where's your practice?
Practice down in Shrewsbury.
What's it called?
The Dental Spa. The Dental Spa.
The Dental Spa in Shrewsbury.
Yeah, nice little practice down there on the outskirts. Shrewsbury's a lovely place. I was quite surprised how much.
I don't think I've been.
There you are.
Like I was in work.
Yeah.
One of those 3D printed crowns.
The invite's there, my dear chap. But my focus for the next sort of, I think it's 378 days before we set off, is getting the Mavericks, Atlantic Mavericks set up. Yeah. I'm ready for that start line in La Gomera.
Oh, good luck with it all. Privileged to meet you. And
enjoy. Yeah.
I look forward to having a couple of drinks here on Friday.
I'm looking forward to that as well.
Thanks for your time, Roy. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. Cheers.